Hi folks, here's a video I've done as a part of a collaboration with Tom Benson, a amazing musician here in Melbourne, Australia. So for this channeled reading session, I was he was playing music and I was doing my thing, closing my eyes, getting receiving visions from the divine, and allowing his music to funnel through me also with these messages, and seeing where this collaborative journey, and it turns out we kind of astral traveled in a spiritual sense, through the duration of this jam session, where I was doing the visual art and he was making the audible music. So here we go. First image was of myself here, sitting in front of the computer because we're all in lockdown here in Australia. Well, majority of us, and it says energy sphere levitating on pole for mind. So there was just this spherical ball of energy, and I was kind of being absorbed with the sonic resonances coming from the screen. And then in the next image, our souls or astral bodies were meeting to do the jam. And I'm loving this term, jamming, because us visual artists don't often get to jam like the musos. So here we go. And our shadow bodies were kind of headed by our astral bodies, and we were meeting in his I think it was his bedroom. That it was bedroom slash studio, and so I had I had traveled astrally over to him, and we were meeting up. And then in the next image, coming from he had his gear set up in his cupboard, and then I received this vision of all of these Chinese lanterns, and lanterns, in my mind, they represent souls, and they also represent the Chinese Lantern festival. But it was like a visual representation of the sound. Not that it sounded particularly what I relate to Chinese music, but China had a specific of relation. The memory that came to my mind when I received this image was him when he wanted to go out on his solo project. He had this. He was reminded of walking in the mountains by himself in China, and China is certainly very topical at this time of year. So and obviously that's not a coincidence. So get ready for more information about China. Now the sphere rises. We become, so that's the image of the lanterns, and there's our astral bodies coming to meet. Now, we become functional architecture. So, as in the first image where there was that ball of energy, we, usually in my images, I'm usually, I might make a cameo, or if it's just about me, then I might see myself or a deity or a spirit guides or ancestors, soul family. I can see anything, the entire world. But in this case, I was seeing both of us. We were, literally, in a very shamanic sense, journeying together through our creative practices. And we become this functional architecture. So, where our purposes were aligned, we're becoming this functional architecture. Anyway, and there's us meeting up on a bridge, and again, these lanterns surrounding us in this astral space. And then I saw a picture of him with playing the saxophone. He's a saxophonist amongst other digital and but anyway, this saxophone had two mouthpieces, probably because there was an echo going on at the time, and our shadows glide into a river of sound, and which was, it felt, I also wrote the stream of consciousness. So here we go. We're about to go. Phone, bridge, lanterns, and now entering the stream of consciousness, which is sound. Now, it looks another image, but this time my body sitting in front of the computer screen is starting to dematerialize, and this sort of perpetual reconstruction, which reminds me of a reading that I did for myself, where I was sitting on a throne in Mars, perhaps past life related, but anyway, so I was in this sort of strange amorphous state, and then I saw myself sinking into my mattress, and then rugs on the floorboard, and then it was kind of like my experience of sound that I was relating to and probably implementing in this reading, or in this collaborative session. And my light body, as I sunk into the floor, I then rose again from the roof, or rose down through the roof, and then lowered down by these peaceful hands of darkness. Just very still, sometimes, darkness has an ominous feeling, but rarely so in my readings, and these were very peaceful and caring hands of darkness, and light body lowered down from roof. Okay, then into China again. So I saw these Chinese mountains kind of pouring down, and there was I forget what the word is, but it was mountainous terrain. It was kind of growing, and then there was a small plateau or civilization perched on top of one of the mountain heads, and yes, then in the next image, and I think, oh, okay, there's a Chinese theme with the lanterns plus now this image. And I knew that it was in China, one, just because sometimes I get claircognizance, just, you just know when you know sort of thing. But the other part of the thing was it was initially illustrated in a Chinese calligraphic, and I thought, oh, wow, that's so, like, it was even shown to me, or represented in a way that I would recognize that these mountains were China, just in case there was any question in my mind. And anyway, so then we kind of, like, I thought, oh, this is very, it was like, well, I kind of realized that after the fact, like when I was doing some research, and oh, I can't wait to tell you more about that. But I thought, oh, this feels like an interior space, but it's open, but it's still mountainous, so it's like sort of like the base of a gorge, but or a volcano. But what I realized later was that it's the interior of a mountain. Now, this is where I'm going to begin discussing Mount or Kunlun. Forgive my pronunciation, but it's in Chinese mythology, it was known as the axis mundi of the world to the Chinese people at that time. And now the axis mundi is, well, look, I mean, my general understanding of the axis mundi is, well, I think of the tree of life with its roots in the ground, and then the trunk reaching up, and then its branches, touching the heavens. So it sort of covers, like in a shamanic sense, covers the lower world, middle world, which we live in, and upper world, which is heaven. And mountains serve the same purpose. So you got your base, you got on the way up, and then its peak, touches the sky, which is heaven, and or you could say, is source or God. And anyway, so this was the interior of the mountain, and Mount Kunlun is known, well, to have all sorts of innumerous deities, but what we were greeted with were these white, still beings, and everyone looked unanimated and like they were waiting for something, like waiting for reactivation. And there was Tom and I's heads kind of coming together and creating this creative spark, and I thought, oh yeah, this is quite a, like, it also had this feel like our creative minds coming together to make some art. And we were surrounded by these, at the time I described them as guardians of the unmanifest, but they're kind of like, I suppose, overlords, or I don't know if that's the right term, maybe guardians, but they overseers oversee the earth and what happens on various planes, upper management of the various dimensions on earth, and and oh, excuse me, semi-photographic. So it actually was happening, and white, as though waiting for colour and personality that comes with incarnation. Now, these beings of white, they reminded me of what I was reading about Kunlun and the Immortals. And so you know, as with, say, Egyptian mythology, there's this sense of not so much reincarnation, but there's an idea of preserving the body to, you know, kind of live forever in a sense. But so immortality, you know, isn't exclusive just to, like, it's something that's cross-cultural and has been around for a long time. But it was like these human presences, like, we're slightly startled, like we're crashing a party, and well, a very, or like, what's that thing when you put life on pause, like you freeze someone's brain? It might come to me, it might not, but I want to say stop animation. Anyway, and yeah, so I had this sense that we were had come across these soul parts that had been stop animated and were being reawakened. Maybe because the entire globe is focusing their attention on and energy, and you know, maybe because Tom and I inadvertently are visiting them as part of a greater scheme that we are, you know, yet to discover. Maybe, you never know, but probably both. Now, next image, I noticed the mountainside opening up and the spirits escaping, and or maybe our souls just leaving the place. And there was this banner which looked kind of like a finishing line. Moving on. So there's the image of Tom and I's heads, and there's the souls in the background and the overseers. And this is kind of like the top of the mountain, but it was made of streaming upwards motioning light. Next image was myself coming from the mountain, but on my desktop instead of a computer screen, and then Tom and I with more, I suppose, like more solid, you know, functional architecture, and us shaking hands, and where were we? Oh, that's right. So Tom and I, again in his studio, me astrally, and but with these heads for spherical energetic heads, and then I saw, so I suppose, this organ music kind of coming into his body, and him looking from the unmanifest, excuse me, down through a hole of light. And then with these immortals looking up, you know, it's kind of like a time capsule from another mythological or another spiritual era. And So there's him looking down from the unmanifest, and then them looking up. The next image I saw was the top of Mount Kunlun rising up, and to push against the sky. So, and then instead of coming up, say into space, where you would think, above the sky there's space, it was, it actually went into a cavernous space that was filled with water, and so it was like it was re-entering the lower world. And I thought, oh my god, this is and the water had been frozen for a long time, and so it was like Mount Kunlun, or Kunlun, was re-entering contemporary spiritual existence, and becoming and rejoining with the Axis Mundi. Like, I'm reminded of what Doreen Virtue, or remember Doreen Virtue saying about when she was channeling the fairies, the more people that believe in us, the more power we have in the physical as well as the spiritual realm. And it was like all of this extra attention and energy, both globally and through this collaborative session, was starting to bring back the Kunlun existence from this time, thousands of years ago, into our present moment existence. Now, apart from the ice, I noticed this sort of dark, you can kind of see teeth, and then there's an eye there, like this sort of primordial creature. So like, it was just this sense of something ancient and unknown that hadn't seen the light for a very long time. Then I saw myself with this whole mountain for my head, and then back to sort of the down where the Immortals are, a vortex of energy connecting their realm with our contemporary Earth energy once again, and bringing in, like, in a sort of Lion, Witch in the Wardrobe, where the whole house kind of gets sucked up into a tornado. It was like the studio was coming into their domain, and then the final image for the session, because we just ran out of time basically, because it went for about 4 hours, was a dark gallery space with 4 spirits on either corner, on each corner of the room, and it was a gallery space. So I thought, oh, maybe this is where our artworks will be performed and displayed and heard. So we'll wait and see. Oh yeah, and so going back to the Axis Mundi part of things, means middle nation. Yeah, China itself means middle nation, and its name did suggest, or like, to the people who, to it's called, Middle Nation, and that it was the center of the globe. Like, and I remember reading about the Oracle of Delphi, and that it was considered the navel of the earth, like the very center. And I think it's just a very human thing to think they are the center, but interesting, maybe they will become the center of the globe again, as in a major power player. But whatever the case, in the spiritual realms, things are awakening, and that have not been seen for a very, very long time. So thank you everyone for watching, and I look forward to perhaps doing an artwork of one of these, maybe on another live video with Tom's music. So cheers, thanks, bye.